On April 2, 2025, President Donald Trump proclaimed Liberation Day, unveiling a sweeping new tariff policy that imposes a blanket 10% tariff on nearly all imported goods, effective April 5th. This audacious move aims to invigorate domestic manufacturing, reduce the trade deficit, and reclaim economic independence. However, the reality of this policy paints a starkly different picture, one that threatens to burden American consumers and businesses alike. Specific nations deemed bad actors face even steeper tariffs. China at 34%, the European Union at 20%, and Japan at 24%, with countries like Vietnam, Sri Lanka, and Laos confronting tariffs as high as 46% to 48%. Additionally, a 25% tariff on foreign automobiles is set to take effect on April 3rd. The administration touts these tariffs as a means to rejuvenate domestic industries and create American jobs. Yet, economic experts and business leaders warn of the impending consequences. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce argues that these tariffs effectively function as a tax on American businesses and consumers, potentially exacerbating inflation and economic hardship. Goldman Sachs estimates that the proposed tariff increases could boost core PCE prices by 0.9%, further straining household budgets. The automotive industry stands on the precipice of significant upheaval. With tariffs in place, cars assembled in North America could see price increases ranging from $4,000 to $10,000, placing a heavier financial burden on consumers. Automakers warn that vehicle prices may rise by up to 12%, potentially reducing sales and impacting jobs within the industry. The ripple effects extend beyond automobiles. Industries such as oil and gas express pessimism amid the uncertainty, fearing that increased costs will stifle investment and growth. Consumers can expect to pay more for everyday items, from clothing to electronics, as businesses pass on the added costs of tariffs. This scenario is particularly concerning given the current economic climate, where inflation remains a persistent challenge. International relations are also at stake. Canada and Mexico, long-standing trade partners, have expressed strong opposition to the tariffs. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced immediate retaliatory measures, including tariffs on $30 billion of U.S. goods, with plans for additional tariffs totaling $125 billion by March 25th. Such retaliatory actions could escalate into a full-blown trade war, harming all parties involved and undermining decades of economic cooperation. China, a primary target of the new tariffs, has not remained silent. The Chinese government announced tariffs on U.S. goods, including agricultural products, and initiated antitrust investigations into American companies operating within its borders. This tit-for-tat strategy threatens to destabilize global markets and disrupt supply chains, with far-reaching implications for international trade. The historical context offers a cautionary tale. The Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, which raised U.S. tariffs on over 20,000 imported goods, is widely believed to have exacerbated the Great Depression by stifling international trade. Economists fear that the current administration's tariff strategy could lead to similar economic downturns, with projections of reduced GDP growth and increased inflation. The Federal Reserve faces a precarious balancing act. While tariffs are intended to be a one-time price level increase, the cumulative effect could lead to sustained inflationary pressures. The central bank may be compelled to adjust interest rates to combat rising prices, potentially slowing economic growth and increasing the cost of borrowing for consumers and businesses alike. Small businesses, often operating with thin margins, are particularly vulnerable. The increased cost of imported goods and materials could force them to raise prices, reduce staff, or even shutter operations. This outcome would be antithetical to the administration's stated goal of bolstering American employment and industry. The agricultural sector is not immune to the fallout. Farmers, who rely heavily on exports, may find themselves at a disadvantage as countries impose retaliatory tariffs on U.S. agricultural products. This scenario could lead to decreased demand for American produce, harming rural economies and livelihoods. Consumers, the backbone of the economy, will undoubtedly feel the pinch. Higher prices on goods ranging from groceries to electronics will erode purchasing power, potentially leading to decreased consumer spending. a critical driver of economic growth. The stock market has already responded negatively to the tariff announcements, with significant declines in after-hours trading. Investors fear that escalating trade tensions could lead to market volatility and reduced corporate profits, further dampening economic prospects. In conclusion, while the administration's tariff strategy is framed as a bold step toward economic liberation, the potential repercussions suggest a more perilous path. The confluence of increased consumer prices, strained international relations, and potential economic slowdown paints a troubling picture. It is imperative for policymakers to carefully weigh the immediate appeal of protectionist measures against the long-term health of the nation's economy and its standing in the global marketplace.